If someone walked into a performance tomorrow, what would they experience?
They would experience what I would call as like a mini opera of sorts. Scott.
Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of the JazzTales Show. I'm Trinity, author and co-founder of JazzTales.
Hi, and I'm Greg. I'm the composer and conductor and co-founder of JazzTales.
Whether you've seen one of our performances or are just discovering JazzTales for the first time, we're so glad you're here.
The show is all about taking you behind the scenes of JazzTales. The stories, the music, the artwork, the people, and everything that goes into bringing these experiences to life.
We'll be joined by musicians, illustrators, animators, educators, community partners, and the many people who make JazzTales possible.
So today, we want to ask one simple question.
What is
JazzTales?
JazzTales? So, Greg, if someone walked into a performance tomorrow, what would they experience?
They would experience what I would call as like a mini opera of sorts. It's got so many things going on. It's got a live jazz orchestra of 18 musicians. It's got you narrating your original story. And it's also got an animated visual film going on at the same time. So there's three parts to it. And it's a story that we think appeals to everyone.
Well said. Exactly.
So why does it exist?
It exists because it's a great way, like you said, to introduce kids to the arts, to literature, to music. They get to see a live 18-piece orchestra, something they've probably never experienced. They get to experience jazz, live jazz. They get to have fun and they get to be entertained while learning. And sometimes that's not always the case in school, but here they get to be entertained while they get to learn.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun for us to do this too. And so why should someone care about our program?
They should care about it just because of that, because we bring something unique to kids. We bring a field trip experience that is amazing, engaging, fun, interactive, and it introduces them to the arts, to animation, illustration, music, literature, and also the importance of kindness and the importance of collaboration and teamwork.
So I want to know a little bit about the reason for you to have written the story and to use kindness as the theme.
So, me being also an educator, I used to be a teacher and now I'm a school counselor. And I see how kindness, just little acts of kindness, make a big difference. And sometimes we feel like, or kids feel like, if they can't do something big, then they won't do anything at all. So I thought it would be fun to do a story that celebrates the small acts of kindness with the hero that thinks he has to do the big things. And, in the entire story, he's thinking he's solving a big problem. Then he realizes it was his imagination. And then when he has a little problem in front of him, he thinks it's not worth his time because it's too small. And so I thought it'd be a fun way to let kids know that the little things really do make a big difference. You don't have to look far to be kind or show kindness or help someone have a great day.
Yeah, I think it's a great theme. And we certainly want students who see our show to feel that they have gotten something out of it.
Thinking about how the kids respond to it, they love it. They always ask, when's the next one? When's the next story? They want to continue with the characters. And so my question for you, Greg, what do you hear children typically say after Jazz Tales?
When we played for the Nightdale High School students, that was interesting because their questions were just amazing. It's like, how did you figure out to include a clarinet? Or, which instruments did you think should be played, to describe parts of the story? Or we didn't know how much we loved jazz, or
Yeah.
we hadn't heard authentic jazz like what you played. So, yeah, I thought there were some great reactions from the older students, things that we could really help. And their questions were like, like they were actually asking, how do you improvise? Things like that. The younger students are they get an impression of something that's really special. And I think they want to do it and get more involved with music and jazz because they asked you just as many questions.
They want to know, like, when's the next book? Like, why did this character do this? Or what's happening here? And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that they can't always verbalize what they like about it or their questions, but you can see it in their eyes. I remember a parent one time after our show, I asked her, I was like, how do you know your son really enjoyed the show? Because he was a nonverbal child. And she said, I could see it in his eyes, the way it kept his attention, So sometimes I think for us, it's just the way they're captivated by the music, by the performance, by the story, then you can really tell they love it. And then how much they cheer afterward and they want to come up to us and they want to ask us all these questions.
Yeah.
And you could just tell I love going to the shows because it's like when you first get there, the kids don't know you. You're like a stranger. But by the end of it, they're coming up to you and they want to ask you all these questions. They want to
Yep.
give you a high five. So it's really cool to see the connection that music and stories can make with kids.
Right. I also feel like it's so special because I doubt they're going to see anything like that, like what we have to
True.
offer. Maybe like if you went to New York City
Hmm.
and your parents or school were able to take you to jazz at Lincoln Center, where they put on programs about jazz for young people. I mean, they have a series. But for us to be here in North Carolina,
Sure.
I think we're probably the only group that is really providing this type of experience for young people where they get to see a whole live jazz orchestra. So I think it's pretty. And then, of course, we're hoping we get to do more of this.
Definitely. Absolutely. So, Greg, how is this experience different than you would say a traditional author visit or traditional orchestra visit to a school?
Well, I think you're a pretty humble person, but I think you have a lot to do with it. I mean, when the students see you so animated yourself and happy to tell your story, I mean, you engage students right away. I look at the jazz orchestra as being like a classical orchestra in that, we're all playing our parts. But, if it was just that, I think it'd be hard to engage all the students if everybody is in the orchestra just looking at their music and playing it. And of course, they're playing it as best as they can. But I think when we add the element of the story, now there are classical works that are designed with a story being read, like Peter and the Wolf, for instance,
Hmm.
by Prokofiev, where you have a storyteller and you actually can have acted parts even on stage of the different little animals in the story. And there's also films like have you ever heard of Fantasia? I'm sure you've
Sure,
heard
of
of
course.
Fantasia. I mean, that was actually one of the first things that I ever saw when I was young,
Wow.
but it was just the movie, and, you're watching the
Hmm.
dinosaurs and these great sounds coming out of the movie, but the music is actually I don't know if you knew it, but it's by Stravinsky. And
Hmm.
it's this one of the greatest modern orchestra pieces ever. And yet, you see the people who are seeing the film, they don't see the orchestra.
That's a good
So
point.
they don't get any training in the fact that Stravinsky, who was Stravinsky? Well, he was this great
True.
Russian composer. That orchestra creating the sounds of the Rite of Spring is just an incredible experience. But students don't know that. But with us, they actually
They get to
see
see it.
the orchestra performing the music.
I think
I
that's a
won't.
good point because,
Mhm.
we hear these amazing works, like even, during Christmas, we hear amazing works. But sometimes if we don't actually see it in person, we don't know what instrument is, playing. We just like, oh, I didn't know that instrument can make that sound or,
Right.
those could come together. So I think you're right. Something special about seeing you all together in the orchestra playing and really experiencing and feeling it. It's so different hearing music from, a speaker or something like that. But when you see it live, you really feel a difference. It's really powerful. And it's, special for kids to see that.
Yeah, especially, the way we're headed with the AI, I think we've got to keep providing the live element
Definitely.
because, it's possible AI can create something like what you've done. And I hate to
Sure.
say it, but it's possible. But it'll never be the same as hearing something live.
That's true. And I think now I was talking to someone recently, and they were saying we're like craving like human experiences, real experiences versus generated things.
Yeah.
It is kind of crazy that we get to think about that. Like we need to go do human things, not just see virtual things or
Yeah.
generated things. And I think that's a big part of it. The kids get to actually experience that.
Yeah. And the sound is it's incredible, isn't it? I mean, you get a
Oh yeah.
whole 18 people playing together.
Hmm.
That's a strong sound, it's nothing like hearing the big band era in jazz must have been so exciting because when you realize when it was really big in the 30s and 40s, what didn't we have in the media? Well, we didn't have the internet.
Hmm.
We didn't have TV yet, 30s and 40s. So the big sound of an orchestra, that was such a major form of entertainment for people. And, when it gets kind of lost because of all the other media possibilities that people have for entertainment, it's nice to keep it alive and to really show how great a sound it is to have that many people playing together.
Absolutely. So that brings me to my next question then, Greg. So
Yeah.
how did you first fall in love with music? You may have already mentioned this with Fantasia as a little boy seeing it.
Mhm.
But how did you first fall in love with it?
Well, records are important. I think one of my first experiences where I just loved the sound of something was when I heard an opera, maybe in junior high school. I was just in music class and they played something from, I think, Puccini's Tosca or something. And it's just this soprano singing. And boy, it just got into my blood. I just loved the sound of that. But, I didn't pursue music when I was
Mm,
young. Because it meant staying inside after school every day practicing, and I wanted to be out playing football and baseball and basketball, you name it. So I just remember that experience. It just makes you feel like you've ate the greatest meal of your life and you never
mm,
forget it. It just felt so good to hear it. But anyway, no, I mean it wasn't until of course I grew up when music was so important to our culture when there was the rock era when it was just so important as a sort of a I don't know. It was everybody kind of related to music, I thought, because it was trying to cure the ills of society and so I loved music but I didn't want to play it. I didn't know I wanted to play it until I heard jazz. When I heard jazz in college, I took jazz appreciation and I heard the music of Miles Davis on this record called Kind of Blue. And that to me was just amazing. It's just amazing. So then I
huh.
decided I wanted to play a saxophone, and then I just played ever since. I just been playing like crazy.
So that's interesting. So you've always appreciated music, but it wasn't until you heard jazz that you thought, "Hey, I really want to get into this."
Yeah, it wasn't until I heard somebody,
Hmm,
John Coltrane, playing the saxophone,
that's interesting.
that I really wanted to do it because I could hear it as being something that would take a lot of work, and then if you did, you'd get this great sound. And to me, it was like it had the energy that I used to get from sports.
Yeah.
Where I said, "Wow, if I could just practice like a maniac,
Mhm.
and really excel at this instrument, I could do it." Of course, that's just been a lifelong struggle, which is what I wanted, a lifelong challenge of having
Sure.
something you could always work at.
I think that's really cool how you mentioned it wasn't until you heard jazz and then specifically the saxophone. And it just brings back the importance of introducing kids to more instruments because like you, maybe they love music, but maybe it's the flute or maybe it's the bass or maybe it's the trumpet, whatever it is, maybe that's their thing. And
Yeah.
until they actually see it live and they get to kind of be near it and they're like, oh, hey, that's actually what I want to play.
Yeah, exactly. And I do work with a lot of young students who I am amazed at that they already love their instruments. And I don't know if they're just doing it because their parents told them, "Hey, you have to learn this." But I think I've seen enough students, young students that are so good and they just must love it already. They must know at an early age how much they love it. I mean, it's the same way you did probably, right? Cuz
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're young, you're like seeing somebody play basketball. I mean, is that what happened to you? I mean, did
I
you
think
have a
it's
mentor?
similar, just like with you, I've always loved sports, and then it wasn't until I saw basketball and it being played, it's like, "Hey, that's what I actually wanna, pursue. I wanna really work hard at that." Yeah, it's similar with music and sports. There's tons of different sports out there that you can pick from, but there's one that resonates with you. Same with music. There's tons of instruments, but there's that one that really resonates. So in that, what drew you toward composing and conducting and not just playing?
Well, that's partially because of a teacher I had. His name was Phil Woods. He was one of the greatest sax players of all time. And I went to his house for some lessons. I got a small grant to pay for the lessons, and I went to his house. And I'm already older. I'm already like in my 30s or who knows when this was. And, I'm like, still want to learn some more stuff about how to get better. And I had heard he had some things to teach. So I get up there and I have my saxophone on my back and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to play my sax for the guy. And he goes, "Hey, sit at the piano and show me what you know." I go, "What? I don't play the piano." He says, "Oh, come on, you must be able to play a little bit." And I said, "Not really. He says, "Well, have you ever written?" I said, "Yeah, I've written some stuff." And he said, "Well, in this business, it's really important that you write your own music as a
Mm,
jazz musician." And he said, a part of it is because you understand how music works better if you have to write your own music.
absolutely.
And if you play the keyboard, it's going to help you because jazz requires composing on the spot. You're improvising.
Mhm.
Improvising is basically making something up on the spot. But if you want it to sound like a song, then you've got to understand all the theory so that you're actually putting it all together in the right way as you're performing it, improvising. So he said, it really helps if you write songs and then that'll help you with your improvisation. and you'll understand how harmony works and all that. So I looked at it as something just doing composing just to help my playing. But when you get to the point where you're in charge of a whole band, like an 8-piece band or whatever, and then it's like, well, you can't just let everybody improvise together. So you have to write out all their parts so it sounds
Mhm.
like it's orchestrated and working together. So that's where I started learning, and I still study more and more how to bring all of the instruments together to make them sound like they're playing together.
Your hard work has paid off. The music sounds amazing. It works together so well. All the different pieces, especially this new book with the different instruments being featured, it just works well.
Well, I guess that brings up the story about, I mean, the discussion about you, because I find having a story being the great impetus behind writing the music. Now, if I don't have a story and I'm just like staring at a blank wall, it's like, okay, what music should I write? It's not as easy. But when we have your story and the clear themes, I mean, how about I ask you this? I mean, same thing goes for you, I think. Are you just staring at a blank wall when you start a story?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like stories come up from different things. It can be a conversation. Someone can make a good point and be like, hey, that would be an interesting story. Or it could be just something you see somewhere. It could be anything, something you read. And I think the fun part is thinking about how can I take this idea and package it in a way that is interesting, is a little bit different, is fun. And I think, and just kind of using a little bit of my background too, like with Lamar the Super Guitar, there was a Bernstein Bears book where Papa Bear was going off with with Brother Bear, and he would think that he saw something, and it was hilarious because what he thought he saw, it wasn't even it. Like he thought he saw a hand saying, "Come into the water and take a dive in," and when he did, it was like I don't know, like a plank of wood, and he hit his head, and thought it was as a kid. I thought that was so funny, and I
Right.
thought if that was like really resonated to me as a kid as something funny, why not kind of use that in this story? Like our hero is thinking he's seeing danger, but in reality, it's not danger at all. So I thought that would be a fun way to incorporate into the story. So I think little pieces, some of my past, things that resonated with me as a kid, some things in the, present that's resonating, good topics, and bringing that all together.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting to hear how you get inspired to write a story. I'm not as, just inspired. Like if I'm just like if I'm working in the yard or something, I'm not like thinking, hey, what tune just can I think of in my
Yeah.
head? I'm like, it's like with you, you came to me like with the purpose of needing music for your story. I'm more like, okay, I got that. Okay, if somebody comes to me like, hey, I have this recording project. Could you write a tune that is so and so? And I'm like, that would be, to me, it's more like a job. And
Mhm.
I'm not just sitting around
Yeah.
thinking, hey, what tune can I play now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
I don't
different.
know. I guess for me, I've always been a storyteller. Like
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I used to write books. I wanted to be, when I was a kid, a cartoonist. I loved making up stories. I'd watch a movie, then like kind of make my own ending or reenact it. So I've always loved making stories. It's always been a part of me. I think playing basketball was definitely a love of mine. And my storytelling kind of got a little bit lost in that. My focus was more basketball. And
Yeah.
then once that kind of, had its time, I went back to that first love of storytelling. And I feel like the thing with it is like storytelling never, I feel like it's continual. Like I feel like even in today's age, no matter what we're doing, marketing, the importance of storytelling. So I feel like I kind of get to do storytelling in little ways even after the books are released,
Right.
and finding the best way to tell a story that's fun, engaging is something, kind of a challenge I like to do. So even though it may not be a new book all the time, I feel like I'm telling stories constantly.
Nice.
So Greg, how did we meet?
Right. Well, we met because I didn't know it, but you had come to see a concert of the Heart of Carolina Jazz Orchestra at the Temple Theater. I didn't know it, but that's what you told me when we first met. You sent me an email and you asked if I'd be interested in a possible collaboration. I don't know if you said it then, but at any rate, you said, I've got a story and I can imagine having jazz music to it. And I'm like, all right, well, let me see your story. And so you sent me the book. And right away, I was like, oh, yeah, I can hear music to this that I could write. And so that's how it started, and it's up. If it wasn't you reaching out and wanting to make something happen, I'm not sure did you know what this could grow into at that point? Or what were you thinking?
If I'm not sure that I actually knew what it could grow into. I just knew that joining with the Heart of Carolina Jazz Orchestra would be something big that could help us dream even bigger, I
Uh-huh.
guess I would say. I know how my idea first started. It was during 2020. I
Mm,
had my very first book, The Little Piano, and the Fayetteville Orchestra had reached out to
mhm,
me and they said, "Hey, we're doing, just YouTube videos for kids. We want to
mm,
know if you could read your book and then we'll just play some music." So it wasn't like anything really written or cohesive. It was just like, we'll have different musicians just play, here and there as you read. So,
mhm.
I went to their house, recorded, and they just kind of had musicians playing like during the story.
I
And I
see.
was like, man, this is really cool. And,
Huh.
in my second book was coming out, the day the instrument split was coming out soon. They're like, hey, when your next book comes out, let us know. We'd love to do this again. So I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So the next book came out. When I tried to contact them, they had moved away, like to Oregon or something like that, somewhere super far.
Jeez.
And they're like, "Try to get in touch with the other people that, were in the project." I reached back out and every single person that did that project was gone. They had all moved away, and I was like, "Really? Are you serious?" And so, the new people that were there were like, "We have no idea what you're talking about." Like, they had no clue. Like, they were completely in the dark. And so I was like, "Man, like, I really want this to happen." So I reached out, and, it just didn't really seem like it was gonna happen, but I wasn't discouraged. I was like, hey, someone's going to say yes one day. I just got to keep on pushing. And then a friend of mine invited us to like just a ladies' night, just have something, go out to dinner, then go see a show. And then when I saw you guys out there, I was like, you know what? It would be really cool if I could partner with them and do do something with my book.
Mm,
And, so I found your email on the program and I was like, yeah, I'm
right.
just going to email and ask, pitch it out and see what happens. And,
Cool.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what happened.
Well, that is great. And then, I was just like, I read the story and I'm like, yeah, let's try to make this happen.
Yep.
And I don't know if you asked me to start writing music or I said, hey, I'll start writing music. I can't remember that though.
I think you started to write because I don't think I thought of that just because my experience was they just played music, but you were like, "Hey, I'll write something."
Well, that's good. That's good. So I can't remember so when was this? Let's see, what year was that?
Oof. 2000
23?
and yeah, maybe 23 cuz I think our first concert was January of 24, right?
24. Yeah. So we had to meet the year before.
Mhm.
And I guess coming out of the pandemic still in a way, maybe, maybe I had a lot of time on my hands or something. I
Mhm.
was like, hey, I could write music for this or keep me busy. It'd be something to do,
Yep. Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, and I was having a great time trying to bring your story to life through the music.
Yep.
And then we started, I guess, rehearsing.
Mhm.
And I don't know if we
And
got
but
it.
by that time, I remember the animation. So I was thinking, this needs to be big, so we need not just to have the book, like, on slides or just the pictures, we need to have it animated. We need to, like,
Yeah.
put it up a notch. And so I remember, like, the animation wasn't even finished. Like, it wasn't even gonna get finished until I think maybe, like, December-ish. And
Mm,
so I was like, "We're telling everybody it's gonna be animated, it's gonna be a
right.
live orchestra, all this." It's like, the deadline is coming up, so that was a little bit stressful, but working
I
with the
think
anime.
also didn't I get a grant to help
I think so.
fund
Mhm. Mhm.
the premiere?
Mhm.
I think
Yep, you did.
I know what it was. There was actually a couple of big grants that we were able to get for this project based on the COVID era,
That's right.
had was made some money available to the Lee County Arts Council, our local arts council.
Mm,
And I did get that grant to write the music and
mhm.
for us to do the premiere. So that was it.
Mhm.
So that happened all during the fall of 23,
Yep.
where yeah, we got the grant, we were able to compose the music, you were getting the video done.
Yeah. Whew, that was stressful getting all that
I
done.
remember that, I was like, "Wow, you're getting a video too?" Had no idea what you were doing
And
there.
then, I mean, the logistics of it too, 'cause at first we were thinking it could just be a video, but then I quickly realized that, jazz is improv and not every song, like, timing it thinking, okay, this one section is going to be 2 minutes. The next time it's like 2 minutes and 15 and 2 minutes and 30. It's like, I got to have a way to control the animation because just having it, set times is not going to work. So we
Right.
went from just doing a video to doing it where it was like PowerPoint controlled. So I could
Oh,
just
that's
like
right.
switch it in between. So that worked.
Yes, yeah. So the premiere went off great,
It did.
and then I think we performed it, I don't know, maybe almost a dozen times that first year,
Yeah.
and then
And then it's gotten better each time.
Yeah.
like just the timing, cohesiveness of it.
Right.
And then I also added some like more interactive elements because the
Yeah.
first time we did it, I don't think I had really any. But then I added like a game after the show, and then we added one before, like a little fun thing. And we sometimes we also added little activities because you always talk about how jazz is like improv, like waking up in the morning and just picking out clothes, just improvising. So we even had that sometimes. We had like little, clothes for the kids to like put on as if they're getting up in the morning, they're improvising what to wear. So
Right. Yeah, oh, it's definitely I mean, we've got that first show, the day the instruments split, we have the first one. That just seems like we have that so tight right now.
hmm
And then the new one, Jazz Tales Continued, which is Lamar the super guitar. I mean, that is going great too.
Yep.
So we have 2 shows now that we could perform.
hmm
And we have the new recording. We made a recording of Jazz Tales 2.
That's right.
We've got that done in a studio, hoping to release that soon.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, that's gonna be really nice. And, so, I think it's just great to have this good of a project, and we really feel like doing something with it now. It's like
Exactly.
we've gotta get people to hear it and want to bring it to
hmm
people. I mean, a lot of times you do a project and it's like, "Okay, well, let's start another one now. Let's do something
hmm
else." But with this one, we're like, we're done with the project, but we've got to do the work now, making sure people hear it.
Exactly. And that brings up the topic of the vision for Jazz Tales. So, Greg, why do you think field trip experiences are so important for Jazz Tales?
Well, I guess we could talk about the economics of it first. If we could bring in 5 or 6 schools at once, that's a pretty big audience. And I think if we did that once a month, throughout the year, I think that would be a very stable way of us to exist instead of us looking for a gig here and there at one school or going to this place one night, this place. I think I like the idea of that, having something that is continuous. I like the idea of that because if we I mean, you've described it perfectly. It's your idea, really. It's like, well, why can't we do what the North Carolina Symphony does? Every year they hit the third grades
Or fourth
and
grade?
fourth grade. And so
hmm
every year there's a new fourth grade. So they hit
Yep.
that new fourth grade. So why can't we do
Exactly.
that with second grade? We hit second grades every year.
I think
So,
the fact that we would have a place that we know is reliable because we've had plenty of
yes,
experiences of venues where the setup wasn't optimal. Like we did it, we
right.
performed, but it wasn't
Yeah.
optimal. Like one time it
No,
was a cafeteria, and
cafeteria.
one time the screens, they said they worked and they had it tested and they didn't work.
Right.
So it'd
Yeah.
be nice to have a place where like, hey, this place is reliable, the seating's great, the acoustics are great. It just makes the performance that much better of an experience.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah. Of course, the North Carolina Symphony has their Mamundi Auditorium, so
hmm
they know
Sure.
exactly what the venue is going to
hmm
be like. We don't have that luxury, and we want to have that. Yeah, would be great.
So, what impact do you hope that Jazz Tales has on students?
I believe that anytime we're playing live, it's had impact.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, the jazz world for students and young people is bigger than it was when I was around. And I think the exposure that younger people than I have had to it, it just means that there's more of it.
definitely. There's the social impact, and there's the impact of introducing kids to jazz music, seeing musicians, seeing live music, maybe finding their instrument, seeing literature brought to life, discovering the importance of reading and the
Hmm.
creativity and animation, putting it all together, seeing people working together. I feel like there's so many things that can have an impact on students.
There is. And, I hadn't thought about that, but reading is so important. And do you see your book? I mean, you've sold a lot of your books.
Mhm.
Is that helping students read?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like when they can see, hey, look, this book, I can imagine it in a different way. I can see it in a different way. It's not just the words on the page, but we help bring it to life for them. And so I think that's important. So they can think, hey, no matter what book it is, I can bring it to life in my mind. It just takes a little bit of creativity, a little bit of imagination, and I can bring anything to life. And hopefully it inspires them to create, whether it is to create their own music, create their own stories. I've had tons of kids come up to me and say, hey, I want to be a writer. I've had my own book. Actually, in Nightdale, there was a kid in the high school band who came up to me and said, hey, I'm an author too. And I was like, oh, great. Let me get
Right.
your book. And so it's cool connecting with kids like that. Like he loves playing instruments, but he also loves to write. And at the beginning of every show, I always ask kids, who in here loves instruments? They raise their hand. Who in here loves to read? Who in here loves to write? Who in here loves sports? And it's like, hey, we all have many things we have in common. And it's okay to bring all those things together.
Right. Well, I really like what you said about when you do read, the pictures come into your mind.
Hmm.
That's the special thing about reading. You can get right in the story and all of a sudden you can see where the events are taking place. You can see what
Exactly.
characters look like or you can see the whole thing. And so we are helping encourage students to read
Exactly.
and to get the pictures in their mind of what the story's about. Not that that's the only purpose of it, but it does help students realize that that's what happens when you read.
Exactly. And bringing that up too, we'd love to hear John Shull's perspective. He's the illustrator of the book and the animator. And so hopefully we'll get him on one of these podcasts soon. He can talk about how the words really inspired him to illustrate and to make the characters. So that'd be an exciting podcast.
Yeah. And you're going to be talking with other people. I mean, all sorts of people, right?
Yeah, we have members from the Heart of Carolina who will be on here. That'll be awesome. We'll have some community members, teachers. Really, the sky's the limit for all the people we can have on and talk about music, animation, illustration, writing, community impact. So it's going to be exciting.
It'd be fun to interview maybe other
Definitely.
composers who have done what I've done, but who have done more of it. Maybe they've got,
Sure.
like, what if we interviewed John Williams,
Yeah, that'd be
of,
awesome.
of
Hey, if you're
Star
listening,
Wars,
John Williams, hey, we'd love to have you on.
other children authors.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, yeah, I look forward to those interviews.
For sure. So, big question here, Greg. Where do you hope Jazz Tales will be 5 years from now?
Boy, now that's, I mean, I'd be curious of your answer to that because you've probably thought about that. I don't really look that far ahead, but if I could dream, I would say yes, we have the regular field trip shows happening at a venue of our own, that the recording is successful and a lot of people
Hmm.
have bought it so that we can, and that we do another story, another story. Because for me, if I'm not writing music, I feel like I lose the craft if I'm not always doing it.
Sure.
So right now I'm not because I'm just trying to make sure we get these versions out there.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would like to have, more stories that I'm writing music for. And in five
Definitely.
years, I'll just say, yes, we have a new story. I've written new music for it and we're playing regularly. And
Nice.
the orchestra is really great.
Yeah, I like that.
How about you?
Oof. I mean, kind of like I do like to dream big, but sometimes I'm kind of like a year to year person. But I would say hopefully in 5 years, we would have established field trips in North Carolina and could also expand outside North Carolina and get some field trips. Our podcast would be going strong. We'd have a lot of amazing guests on here, which would
Mm,
be really cool. A lot of even people that we just met through the podcast. I would just say a lot more partnerships with Jazz Tales. So just really working our networking and increasing our impact, I would say.
that's good.
All right. So we have a few rapid fire questions here. Okay. So favorite instrument character.
Well, I'm going to say Zum the drum.
Everyone on the drum.
I don't know why. You just think energy.
Yeah.
The drum is the driving force behind the band.
Mm,
My son's a drummer.
that's right.
I'm driven by rhythm and timing and energy.
That's good. Okay. Favorite jazz artist.
That's one of the hardest questions. Is one of the hardest questions. I mean, if I want somebody who's a sax player, I'd give you 10 names right now that I like.
Man.
I'd give you, John Coltrane, Cannibal Adderley, Phil Woods, Charlie Parker, Coleman Hawkins, Lester Young, Sonny Rollins, Sonny Stitt. I mean, on any day, it could be either one of them that are my favorites. Trumpet players, I could do the same thing. Piano players, I'll just say Bill Evans, just because of the sound that he can get from a piano.
Nice.
But then, you're talking about orchestra leaders. I'd have to say Duke Ellington. Maybe he's my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Yeah.
Morning or night?
Gets you tired at nighttime. So I'd have to say I'm a morning person.
Nice. Favorite jazz tale performance so far?
Well, it's probably our most recent one, just because I think we were at our top. We really played well.
At
That
the
would be
temple?
Temple Theater.
Mhm. It's a great venue.
I think you're also gonna really like the recording. You haven't heard it yet, the final recording. You've heard parts of it, but I
Mhm.
think that might be my favorite 'cause
Oh,
w
nice.
yeah. But as far as live goes, yeah, I mean, the Temple Theater performance was great. I still like that Abbott's Creek Elementary School performance we did where it seemed like the teachers were also supportive. I like that one. Most of the school performances have been good.
Mhm. Gee.
So
Wow.
much energy, so much satisfying. We really did it something special.
I agree. Dream venue for Jazz Tales.
Well, when we almost had the Tanger Center, I was like, "Oh my goodness, that would have been amazing." A big venue like that. Yeah, I mean, if we could get in the Mamundi Auditorium, fantastic places. I mean,
It's
but,
good to have
it
things to
could
shoot
be
for. It's good to have
it
things to
is
shoot for.
good, but, I think some of the other theaters like Cary Arts Center, Cary Theater, the Fuquay Theater, those are really nice places.
Mhm. Good point. Okay, one word that describes Jazz Tales.
One word to describe Jazz Tales. Well, if I said love, I don't know what that would mean for it, but
Hmm.
it just makes you feel warm and, special and you're doing something for other people. When I play a good solo, I'm just I can't put it into one word. You're kind of
Mm.
just in the moment. It's just a
Yeah,
great feeling.
that's awesome.
Who's your favorite instrument character?
It would have to be Lyric the piano. She was the first character I made, so it has to be her.
And Lyric's going to be in all your stories, most likely.
Yep. She may not star in all of them, but she'll be in all of them.
Okay, that's good. All right. Favorite children's book?
Favorite children's book? Oof. I can't say my own. That's probably cheating. I'd probably say Love You Forever, Like You for Always.
And who is that by? Do you remember?
I cannot remember. It's really bad, but it's a favorite one. My mom used to always make a little song to go with it.
So you've known that story for a long time when you
Mhm.
were very young. Okay.
Mhm.
How about your favorite jazz artist?
I know you're probably gonna say it's, too typical, but probably Duke Ellington.
I'm just curious why do you like Duke Ellington?
I got to go to Tennessee to, the museum there of jazz music, and it was really amazing to look at just his history and to see all the things that he's brought to jazz, and so
Mhm.
I just thought, and plus I've heard his music here and there growing up, so I would say it would be him.
Did you know he has a special sense? I don't know if I forget the term of it. Starts with an S, where when he writes notes, he sees colors.
That's cool. Oh, I've heard of that.
Mhm.
Hmm,
So he was actually
that's
a
really cool.
painter when he was also
That's
learning
so
how to play
cool.
music. So I think he's a special person, and
Definitely.
I did see him live.
Really?
Oh,
No
yeah.
way.
Oh, it
That's
was
cool.
amazing. Yeah, I saw his orchestra live.
That's cool.
Yep, and they were older. They had been together probably for 50 years. So they were like some of them were in their 70s. He was in his 70s
Wow.
when I saw him. And to see these, seniors just playing their instruments so well.
Wow.
It was an I'll never forget it. Yeah, it was in
That's
Cleveland. I
amazing.
saw All right. So anyway, yeah, I'm glad you like Duke. Amazing stuff. Are you a coffee or a tea drinker?
I'm not a coffee drinker. I would probably say tea.
Yeah. Morning or night?
I think I'm naturally a night owl, but I've been trying to get up early in the morning more recently, but I think night is just naturally
Well,
what
tell me
I'm
about your
accustomed to.
workout routine then, because that's at
Yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. So we have to get up before to be ready, to work out by 5. And so I did that because I feel like I get a lot more things done early in the morning because people aren't really asking you for anything in the morning. No one's calling me up at
No,
5
of
a.m.
course.
asking me to go
Yeah.
hang out or talk. So I feel like I get the workout out and out of the way. And then at nighttime, I can get a lot of my own work done.
All
Plus,
right.
I get to go to Zumba at nighttime, so I can't miss Zumba.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah. Favorite performance venue so far?
I would probably have to say the Temple Theater that we've been to. Maybe it's because with the very first one was at the Temple, so
Yeah.
maybe that has a special place, but I would say the Temple.
Yeah. Good. Dream place to perform Jazz Tales.
Dream place. I don't know. There's not really one that I'm scoping out that I really see, but you seem to think that the Tanger Center is like really nice, so maybe there?
Yeah. And you've been to Mamundi at
I have not.
that's beautiful. And yeah, there's a lot of nice theaters in North Carolina. I mean, there's so many nice ones. All right. Is there one word that describes Jazz Tales for you?
I would just say unique.
Yeah, we got something special for sure. Well, we just want to say thank you so much for joining Trinity and myself today for our very first episode. We hope you enjoyed getting to know us and hearing how Jazz Tales began and what we're hoping for it in the future.
Yes, and if you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to subscribe and follow along as we continue introducing you to the incredible people who make Jazz Tales possible.
For our next episode, we are sitting down with one of our orchestra members who also owns a farm.
Thanks for being here. We can't wait to share more of the Jazz Tales journey with you. We'll see you next
We'll see
time.
you next time.